when I draw an animal, I think of what makes this animal special. And for this lemur, they always have a very long tail, round yellow eyes, and very soft shapes. So I will start with watercolor and use light brownish color. And when you paint with watercolor, you have to work really fast to get smooth transitions. And I will leave the background white, and this is why I will paint the whole lemur in a light brownish color, so we have a nice silhouette at the end. And this area around the eyes is very light too. And then we paint the whole tail in this color also. Like this. And they have white ears as well. Now we take this bluish color and paint the dark parts in. It's okay if the paint is still wet, we just paint it over this. And the inside of the ears is a little bit darker too because there is shadow. Then let's quickly draw the branch. We use a darker brown, and you can always mix colors as you paint. And use different colors. I think that always makes it a little bit more interesting. And lastly, we paint the leaves. And when I paint any greenish leaves or nature elements, I always try to use as many shades of green as possible, because if you look at a tree or any green leafy bush or anything, you will most likely find many shades of green, and that makes it more natural and also interesting to look at. So here we have a already dried watercolor lemur that we can paint over with our crayons and color pencils. First I will draw the eyes. And to draw the fur, I always go in and make many little strokes. And when you draw fur, it's important to just go with the shape of the animal, so it looks nice and natural. I want this leg. And you can change your pencils and use different colors.
The first thing you will need to do is make your ingredient. In my bibimbap, I'll be drawing vegetables like spinach, carrot, or mushroom. But you can draw whatever veggies you like, so let your imagination run wild. To begin, use Crayola paints and watercolors to create your base colors. Do this using a brush to create large patches on the paper. Once the paint has dried, your paper should look something like this. Now it's time to use your Crayola crayons and colored pencil to add textures. Scribble all over your dried paint patches with different tones and shades of the same colors. You can't make bibimbap without a bowl. On a separate sheet of paper, draw a circular bowl shape and give it a thin rim to add depth. That's your bowl sorted. So now it's time to cut up your ingredients. Be sure to ask an adult if you need help doing this. Carefully cut your dried colored patches into different random round shapes. Then place the pieces into your bowl like this. Once you're happy with the positioning of your vegetables, it's time to stick them down using your Crayola glue. Again, if you need help doing this, just ask an adult. No bibimbap would be complete without a fried egg, my favorite part. To make the egg, you will need to cut out a fried egg shape on white paper and then a smaller yellow circle for the yolk. Glue the two parts of the egg together and then glue that onto the bowl. This is the last part. Using your Crayola markers, Add details to your vegetables to make your collage of color look even more like the real dish. And there we go! A bibimbap, so delicious. I think I'm going to go and make the real thing. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed listening to and seeing our thoughts about Korean food and culture.
Let's draw a bird's nest together. I like to start by drawing the stick that the bird is going to sit on. And it's really cool that you could create a little piece of art using simple shapes. For the bird's nest, I'm creating a cup nest. So that's like a little basket that sits right on top of the stick. Now the bird's nest has a baby bird in it. I like to do a little circle kind of leaning out. And of course, birds have hungry mouths, asking for food, and big cute eyeballs. Now, for the nest, that needs a little more detail. Like I said before, a cup nest is like a little woven basket. So let's put a pattern in it that looks like a little basket weaving. When I think sticks, I think brown. I think that's a pretty obvious choice, but let's also think about some of the other colors that we can sort of see on a piece of wood or on a tree trunk. So brown is the start, but maybe let's incorporate a little orange, maybe a little red, maybe some green later as moss. So by doing this, you could create something that looks a little more fancy, and also you could really play with blending in the colors together to create something new. Now, when you're out in nature, what sort of colors do you see, and how can you incorporate that into your work? I think this is inspired by a hummingbird's nest. Hummingbirds make their nests out of all these teeny tiny materials like spider silk and thistle and little pieces of dried leaves and moss. So I like to try to incorporate those sorts of colors into the nest while I'm coloring. While creating my books, I really do like to explore the areas where my subjects will be alive in the wild. So when I was hiking around and watching these bluebirds hatch, I noticed that, when they're first born, they're actually kind of dull colors, but that doesn't mean that we have to color them in dull for this sort of illustration. I think we should have fun, and you should color this bird in however you want. And as the birds mature, they molted and their feathers fell out, and then they became the very bright blues and oranges that you think of when you think of a bluebird. Now this hungry mouth seems to be crying out, so let's really create some color bursts right there, and voila! We've created a bird's nest together.
So what we're going to do to make our little dog is we're going to get two little balls, push them together, whoop, and we're going to make even bigger ball. You don't have to use yellow though. You can always use a yellow mixed in with a different colour, or you can use any other colour you like. I'm going to roll it into sausage shape. With this, what we're going to do is we're going to divide it into 6 shapes. Now don't worry if your little balls end up looking not as perfectly rounded like this. All dogs are fluffy, aren't they? So you don't need to worry. All you need to do is just keep that and then swish, and you've got one set of dog legs. And the same for this. Swish the 2 top circular bits, and then just like that, put them together, and that's how you can get a dog to stand. If you want him to be sitting down, don't worry, you can do the same thing. As you see, I've just pushed that back bit down so he looks more that sort of slant rather than up. Now then, you've got 2 more little bits here. Now one of these is going to become the head, so it'll sit there, and the other bit will become both the tail as well as any other bits you want to add onto your dog. Now that we've made him, we've got our other two little bits. I'm going to take the bigger side of the two to make the head. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the leg building away from before, and you're going to pinch, 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 but you're not going to go as far. We've got our little face in terms of it's just pushed a little bit to the front, and similar to the legs, it's got a circular back. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of the smaller one and we're going to roll it around. We're going to make it into an egg instead. So push that just there and join that there on top. Then we get some rough ideas of ears. And you can always just use a little ball and put it just against it. Don't have to push against it. You can just sort of pop it to one side, have a little look and go. Then you've got your two little ears, same size. Then with dogs, they usually sit about here. Every dog must have a tail. Just need to stick that on the back. I've also got a little bit left over. So to make the dog, if you want to add bits such as texture, so you can either get these bits here, just pull them apart so they make little lines like this. So you put them on that and just slowly pull them down. So that would give you texture like that. You can obviously have a smaller dog eyes if you want, because that could look really big. Now the reason why he's got another little bit of white is that when you look at a dog, it will have a little bit of light come through. Now if you're not happy with either the size or you think, oh no, you can always pull it back. That's the way that you would put on the eye. And again, similar to everything else, if you feel like it's too big, you can always squish it down. You can get some more yellow, you can push it around. So there we are, little happy chappy.
Let's have some fun and make some hands-on ASL arts and crafts. We are today going to make, actually you're going to need 4 things before we start. Some colored markers, some colored paper, some scissors, and a glue stick or regular glue in a container, whatever you prefer, whatever you like to use, and whatever you're comfortable with. So today we're going to have some fun and make an I love you sign and put it on the card to give to someone you love. So the I love you sign in ASL looks like this, and there's an I in there which stands for I, and L which stands for love, and a Y which stands for you, and it's all in one sign. So we're going to trace our hands and then cut it out. So let's start the video and you'll see what to do. So now you can see that this person is using a pencil to trace around all the fingers of the hand and make sure that the hand shape is there on the paper. If you make a mistake, you're using pencil, so it's okay, because afterwards you're going to use a marker to trace on top of the outline that you just did so it can be seen more clearly on the colored paper. The colored pencil is pretty light, so you use something darker afterwards. Then you'll cut it out and you'll see that there's a lot of variety. Everyone has a different hand shape. Adult hands might be bigger and kids' hands might be smaller, and maybe it's cuter to have the I love you sign with a smaller kid hand. Cut out the shape of the hand, and then you'll see that you'll use some other paper and glue the shape onto the other paper. And you'll see how it goes from there. So you'll see that it looks more three-dimensional on paper because you can fold down those 2 middle fingers and create a card that's actually 3D. So just the same as your actual hands. You have to glue it down except for those 2 fingers in the middle. Just glue it on the back of the other fingers so you can fold the 2 middle fingers down, and on the back of the hand. And you can see that the person in the video is putting a little bit of glue on the tips of those 2 fingers so they can be folded over and glued to the paw. And now you can decorate it with whatever you feel like, some flowers or whatever you want to put on there, and you can use it to give somebody a gift with a card. And it shows your use of ASL in your artwork.
Conchas come in different colors, but my favorite color is pink. Traditional conchas come in pink, yellow, white. I'm gonna do pink because that's my favorite one. I flatten the round ball into a round disc. And this is the bread of our concha, right? This is the base, and I'm gonna make it nice and round. So what I'm doing is I'm just turning it around my hands using my middle finger and my thumb to make it but just a nice shape like that. And we're gonna put it onto our surface. And now here comes the sugar topping. I'm just gonna take pieces of this, and you can make any design of sugar topping. And these don't have to be perfect. They're just little clumps of sugar, but they're so nice. So we're going to go ahead and put it on the bottom of our concha. And from here, we'll start making our design. So here we're gonna have a slightly bigger piece of the topping. And the shape that I'm going for is kind of like this weird triangle. It's nice and curved at the top. And I'm just going to put it right next to the one that we just put. It's not really touchy. It's just right next to it. And we just go ahead and do the same thing. We form that little triangle and we flatten it out, and we can stretch it all the way to the side. And you're gonna start seeing that it's gonna start forming like a seashell. And remember, it doesn't have to reach all the way because real conchas have the sugar broken down. So there'll be pieces of the sugar. One thing that our concha does, if you want to do big details, is we can go ahead and using either a palette knife or a fork or the back of our paintbrush, just push that in right here, and there we go. So remember, you cannot eat this one. As wonderful as it may look, model magic is not meant to be eaten. Just a couple more. And again, conchas come in all different patterns. Some of them come with squares, others come in spirals. I would love to see what design you make with your concha. And what color are you gonna pick? I picked pink, but again, you can pick any colors. You can even pick blue or rainbow, your favorite color. And then we're just going to add just the last bit of the sugar to complete our concha decoration. We're gonna lift it very carefully using our paintbrush. You get to decide if you want to have it here by the smaller part or by the larger part. I'm going to choose the larger part on top. Go right through our model magic, flip it around, and we have a wonderful model magic concha.
I'm using a couple of different colored pencils to basically scribble a base color. You can use crayons, pencils, markers, even watercolors, whatever you like really, to create some nice light pink texture. And I'm just gonna do this for a minute. I'm just switching out the colors to get some variation for those worms. Okay. And then when you've created a base texture, you can pick either a marker or another pencil and just draw the shape of your worm over the top. So I'm going to do a nice long wriggly one. And then I'm going to draw some lines along the body like this. And then just for fun, at the top, I think I'm gonna give our worm a little smiley face. We're just gonna grab some scissors and just very carefully cut this little guy out. There we are, one worm, and you can obviously do as many as you like. Then you can use whichever materials you like, a mixture of crayons, pencils, markers, pastels, to create some more fun pieces of food scraps to go on your compost bin. So I've used lots of different materials here. Create some banana peel, some pieces of cucumber, some onion peel, some leaves, an avocado pit. Yeah, do as many as you like and get as creative with the colors as you like as well. The brighter the better, in my opinion. Once you've finished with your collage pieces, you also need to create your nice earthy background for them to go on. Now for this one, I used a mixture of watercolor pencils, which I then mixed with water to create like a big wash over the whole paper. And then I used lots of different brown crayons of different shades and just scribbled over the top of it to create a really nice dark, rich earth. Once you've done that and everything's dry, you can start laying out all your pieces and deciding how you want them to look. And last but not least, we'll get our little worm friend right in the middle here. And there we are. We have a fun collage that also reminds us what we can compost.